Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Fairmont West Virginia, May 30th, 2025. Deputies with the Marion County Sheriff's Office received a referral from Child Protective Services to investigate the allegations of sexual abuse by a 13-year-old girl. The child said that a man had been sexually abusing her at least since 2021 when she was 9 years old. The man she was accusing was a relative of hers, 45-year-old Christopher Allen Gwinnett, a police officer with the Fairmont Police Department. On two separate occasions, Gwinnett was interviewed regarding the accusations, and during the second interview, he admitted to sexually abusing the child since age 9, according to the Marion County Sheriff Roger Cunningham. Gwinnett has been arrested and charged with first-degree sexual abuse and sexual abuse by a parent or guardian. Sheriff Cunningham said Gwinnett was placed on administrative leave by the Fairmont Police Department prior to being arrested. No word on whether it was paid leave. However, the city issued a statement Wednesday afternoon saying they are immediately beginning the process to terminate his employment. Quote, "We want to be clear on the seriousness of the allegations against Christopher Gwinnett. They are a blemish on the badge of law enforcement and an affront to the profession. They in no way reflect the character and quality of our law enforcement personnel, and we condemn them in the strongest possible terms." By the way, I want you to keep in mind this statement by the city, specifically regarding this Christopher Gwinnett character, and what they're saying about this doesn't reflect the character and quality of law enforcement. Just keep in mind this condemnation. You will be seeing it again. Gwinnett is currently in the North Central Regional Jail. His bond has been set at $100,000. Now, you got a guy here, had a badge and a gun, supposed to be a man of the law. He's abusing at least a blood relative, if not his own child. We don't know for sure who it is. They haven't specified. That's understandable. This guy is a soon-to-be ex-cop, accused of violating a child, and they're giving this guy $100,000 bail. You got the same gallery of creeps and rogues out there from these politicians, usually DAs and legislators, who try to tell us the nonstop sermon of, oh, the police do an incredibly dangerous job, and we have to protect the police because they protect us. Meanwhile, they're not talking about stuff like this, which is a hell of a lot more common than people think. We don't need any more laws to try to protect the police because we have a ton of them already. What we need are laws that hold the police accountable. That's the entire reason that they keep doing this stuff. Because you won't be surprised to learn that this isn't Gwinnett's first run-in with the law. And when I say run-in, I mean that literally. On July 10th, 2019, Gwinnett was a passenger in a police truck. He and the driver, Officer Jacob Streil, were driving 73 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. There was no emergency going on. They were just blazing through the area like a bat out of hell because they're police with racial immunity from law, so why not do whatever? While they were busy playing speed freak, a motorist named Stephen Santini was approaching an intersection. Witnesses say Santini stopped at a stop sign at the intersection before making his left turn. It was at that time that Gwinnett and Streil's police truck came out of nowhere and collided with Santini's vehicle directly on the driver's side door, causing his vehicle to flip over on its side and crash into a telephone pole and gas pipeline. Santini was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident. But then again, when you're driving 73 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone, is it really an accident? This is what Gwinnett was up to years before he started violating children. And keep in mind, this kill happened on an afternoon around 1:40 p.m., and yet within hours, the Fairmont police were already on the internet denying everything, claiming that the vehicle Gwinnett was in was not operating at an excessive rate of speed. The bastards actually had the nerve to post that. Yes, the Fairmont police went on Facebook and claimed that they were trying to offset speculation and gossip by disseminating outright lies. And they claimed that they were going to show deference for the victim of their two thugs with badges by releasing limited information, they say. Except practically all the information that they released was meant to justify two idiots who were flying down the road as if they were on the highway when there was no emergency and they didn't even have their emergency sirens or lights on. So the goal of the police was to dirty up the victim and try to make it all his fault. This is what they did within hours of this fatal accident. In March of 2020, Gwinnett was named in a wrongful death lawsuit by the victim's widow, Emily. Gwinnett was named in the suit for not taking any action to get the officer driving the truck to slow down or turn on the siren or flashing lights. But then again, he should have been facing criminal charges for something of this nature. You're not supposed to go to civil court, you're supposed to go to prison. If you were a civilian caught by the police going 73 in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, at the very least they would yank your license or suspend it. The lawsuit also debunked the police's social media denials, saying shortly after the incident, other Fairmont police officers arrived on the scene and told at least 2 witnesses to leave without obtaining statements from them. So we know the police were lying when they claimed that these 2 criminals were not going at an excessive rate of speed, and now we find out that there were other witnesses who contradicted the police's cover story, or rather cover up, and they wanted these people to go away. This is what the police are talking about when they say to serve and protect. In August of 2020, during the height of the uprisings following George Floyd's murder, Santini's wife reached a tentative settlement with the city of Fairmont and the 2 thugs who killed her husband for $1.8 million. That's it. Nobody went to prison for Santini's death, and of course nobody had to admit any sort of wrongdoing. Now, Gwinnett and Striles were involved in going at an outrageous amount of speed, 73 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone, no matter what the police claim. That means this scumbag was in a residential area, or at the very least, a highly congested and populated zone. This was not some highway or even an avenue. And after he was responsible for killing someone, he went right back to work as if nothing had happened. In fact, there's no evidence that he was suspended at all or anything. And in my opinion, the only reason that the Fairmont police and the city were willing to reach a settlement was because the legal situation happened in 2020. During the uprisings, that meant the police were under a spotlight instead of the usual limelight that the white media tries to put them under. Had it been just a year earlier, well, you saw what they were doing, blaming the victim, claiming all sorts of lies that, oh, nobody was speeding. Yeah, what a difference a year makes. And now we see the same creep they were lying for and protecting after he killed a motorist now went on to violate a child, and since he's been charged with sexual abuse by a parent or guardian, that means this scumbag was sexually abusing his own daughter. That's what this means. And what made this degenerate think that he could do this? Well, keep in mind, the abuse began in 2021. That was the year after he killed Stephen Santini. When the cops don't charge someone and the DA doesn't prosecute them for going at an unbelievably excessive rate of speed and killing somebody, when the police are your co-workers and they go on social media and lie for you and blame your victim that you took the life of, well, what would make you think that violating a child is some big deal? When you literally get away with murder, why not go after anyone and everyone else? Why not be the worst person you can be? This animal could have been taken off the streets years ago. Had he been prosecuted for killing Stephen Santini, he would be in prison right now and would never have had the chance to hurt that child. But because of the venality and degeneracy inherent in the culture of the police, and these prosecutors who are corrupt as hell, acting as accomplices to the police's criminality, these thugs with badges are shielded from the law, and they know it, so they go around committing crimes with impunity, not because they can't be charged, but because the authorities refuse to. So because the police refused to own up to how dirty this guy was 6 years ago, today the city of Fairmont had to post a very different type of social media post. It was nowhere near as arrogant and bold as the one that the Fairmont police put up in 2019, because no matter what the city of Fairmont may be claiming now, Gwinnett's behavior does reflect the character and quality of law enforcement perfectly. He's the poster boy for them. That's why he was hired by them. That's why they bent over backwards for him after he took a civilian's life for no reason. That's why they didn't fire him. And that's why he was emboldened to sexually abuse his own child for years before something was done about him. This is police culture. And this Gwinnett character is the perfect avatar for it. Cops are notorious for spousal abuse, so their family members are the ones most in danger from them. Immunity from prosecution, killing civilians at will, and never being held to account. This is what they mean by back the badge. This Gwinnett creep is a perfect example of law enforcement in the U.S., and definitely in Fairmont, West Virginia. The city shelled out nearly $2 million to settle that lawsuit on his behalf, and instead of prosecuting him and putting him in a cage where he belonged, they did nothing about him. Instead of firing him and revoking his state certification, they did the opposite. No punishment, no nothing. He just went back to work as if nothing had happened. So clearly his behavior wasn't a problem in their eyes. He was a model cop the way they look at him. And since this is the class, character, and caliber of individual that they want in their police departments, seems to me that there needs to be another lawsuit against the city of Fairmont and its police department, this time by Gwinnett's latest victim. Forget about to serve and protect. The public's long since stopped believing in that lie. The cops' new motto ought to be hide your kids, hide your wife. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. BC, Dennis Rowland, Stephen 12, Mark Singleton, and Pamela Hyman. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.